Good evening, thanks for coming. If you have a mobile phone, if you'd like to put it on silent, please, thank you. Right, a massive welcome for the first time, Darren Nesbitt, musician, activist and researcher with The Earth is Not a Spinning Ball. A subject capable of splitting ranks and currently attracting a lot of attention, with many questions being asked and less being answered. Darren is here tonight with some of those questions and a bag full of observations, most strange. Some of which show NASA, that organisation with a budget of billions, dealing in untruths. Darren's research points to the Earth being other than spherical, delivering a broadside at scientific consensus. Please fasten your seatbelts for Darren Nesbitt.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob. Thank you very much for inviting me. Nice to see so many here tonight. My name's Darren Nesbitt. I believe the Earth is a fixed, stationary plane. In 2016, that should make me sound like quite a nutter. Obviously, a lot of people here have already been doing some research. This has been going on for a year and a half, 2 years. It's really exploded across truth movements and truth seekers. Some people say it's divisive, it doesn't matter. Some people can't see the deception. I'm here tonight to show you that what you might have already researched in terms of truth, in terms of false flags, 9/11, occult symbolism, Illuminati, all that stuff is all present in the globe Earth, the spinning globe Earth, NASA, all of that stuff. It's all connected. There's no separation between the lies. I know British people don't like to take part in audiences, but I just want a show of hands. I've already spoke to a few people tonight. How many people here already think like me? They've been doing research for weeks, months or years. I believe the Earth is a fixed stationary plane. Excellent. So we've got about half a dozen. That's what I like to see. Okay, that's what I want. I didn't want everybody to be already converted, because most of the world's like that at the moment. 90% I'd say of people just think this is crazy. It's lunatic, as the piece says. But I want to ask you then, obviously not the people who believe it's a stationary plane. I want to ask the people who believe that I'm about to talk the biggest load of nonsense and I'm off my head. I want to hear from you why you believe the Earth is a spinning globe. What are the reasons why you believe? Shout them out. I'm going to write them down on here for you. Just shout them out.
Well, everything is spherical.
Sorry?
Everything is spherical.
What do you mean by everything is spherical? Do you mean?
Everything, every single thing, even on a smooth flat, the particles that make it up are spherical.
Okay.
And it's provable by examining it under a microscope.
Okay, so what you're saying is that at the smallest point, everything is a ball at all times?
Yeah, everything is, yeah.
Okay. I've not. I mean, there's surely more major ones than that. I mean, we will include that. But why do you believe the Earth is a globe?
Because that's what we were taught.
Okay, we know that's what we're taught. But what observable proofs are you? What do you have?
The stars going around the planet.
Okay, we see the stars in the sky moving around, don't we?
The sun and moon.
Stars moving at the sun and moon.
Tide.
Well, again, I don't think the tides directly show that we're on a spinning globe, but there must be, at the end of the day, 90% of people in here believe that we're on a spinning globe. You must have reasons for it.
Yeah, when the shadow of the night gets chased away by the sun in the morning.
Okay, so day and night.
Yeah, it goes away progressively.
Yeah, day and night. Yeah, sun and moon. Day and night. What else?
You can't see the southern hemisphere stars from the north, and you can't see the northern hemisphere stars from the south.
Different stars in different hemispheres. What else? What's the number one reason why you believe the Earth is a globe?
That's the photographs.
You've seen images of it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Isn't that the number one reason why you believe the Earth? If you've never seen an image of the Earth as a globe, it's a pretty hard sell, to be honest.
Window there, you can see the moon, that looks round.
There you go. The moon, the other. That's what you were saying, wasn't it? Other bodies look round. The sun looks round in the sky, Jupiter looks round, the moon looks round, the stars look round, they all look round. Why isn't this round? Yeah, that's another one. And then we've got images as well, haven't we? Like I say, images of Earth. What else? Are these the only 5 reasons? Because I'm going to give you about 30 or 40 tonight that will show you that the Earth is a fixed plane. Are these the only reasons why you think it's a ball or a globe? Come on, you must have more reasons than that.
The Mercator map.
Say again?
The Mercator map
The Mercator map?
made.
Sorry?
It was drawn out so that when we put it together as an object,
Yeah.
3-dimensional object, it matched the globe as he believed it to be.
Well, we can test it. We can test this out if you like at some point, because we've got a globe and we've got the Mercator map, and we'll see if it actually fits round.
No, that's not the original Mercator map.
This isn't the Mercator map. But the point I wanted to make there, so is the Mercator map looks pretty square and flat to me. that's the ball. That's the globe. Anything else? I'll be honest with you. When I did this at home, I come up with a lot more. I come up with a lot more reasons. What else?
In the Arctic and Antarctic regions,
Yeah.
the sun doesn't rise for months.
Okay, but again, that's not first-hand knowledge as such. Go on. What else? Bob,
You and I have had this conversation before.
go on.
Seasons.
I've sailed the seas.
Seasons, and you've seen.
I have seen the curvature.
You've seen the curvature. Anybody seen it? So, okay, so you've seen the curvature on a boat? Anybody seen the curvature from a plane?
Yes.
There we go. So I'm having to give you reasons why you believe the Earth is a globe. So I've seen the curve from a plane. Anything else?
It was fairly obvious when Felix Baumgartner went up to 127,000 feet.
Okay, images of Earth, images of curved horizon.
How far you can see when you're on the water level? You can only see for 3 miles.
Ships disappear over the horizon. Okay? Ships, anything, lighthouses, buildings, whatever, everything disappears over the horizon, doesn't it? You see a ship, it disappears, it goes over the horizon. That's why you believe the Earth is a curving ball, yeah?
You know when one comes back?
Yeah.
It appears to come back, say...
Mass first?
Top first, yeah.
Mass first. Okay, my handwriting is absolutely atrocious because we don't really write much anymore with our hands. We use computers. Okay. I'm quite disappointed, to be honest. You have to be given quite a nudge for it, but we've come up with maybe 10 things there, and I'll show you. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, what about that man that just gone into orbit?
Okay,
It
but
showed him up there, and it showed him you could see through the window.
images of Earth from space.
It showed the Earth was round.
Yeah, that's images of Earth from space. Yeah, every single image you've seen of Earth from space is probably the main reason. You know, there's lots of other ones. I think seeing the curve from a plane or on the water or what have you, or even up a mountain, that would be one as well. Brian?
Most of the navigational tools that we use to sail the seas
Yeah.
wouldn't function with
Well, I mean, you say that, but again, we could get planes and pilots, and their navigation is level all the time. Or what, and that's equivalent. What I need is your senses. No, you mean the lunar eclipse, not the phases of the moon. The phases of the moon are not created by the shadow of the Earth, unfortunately. Otherwise, I'd be able to prove very, very easily that it wasn't the case. Sorry. No, the lunar shadows lunar shadows not caught. It only happens 3 or 4 times a year. Do you want to say the lunar shadow or the phases of the moon? Lunar shadow. Okay, I'll put that down because that's a fairly common one. There we go. And I think I don't mean in the original list. Lunar shadow. We finally got to the bottom of the. We've got to the bottom of the paper. What I want to bear in mind as I'm going to show you things tonight is the difference between different types of knowledge that we can have. Primary versus secondary versus tertiary knowledge. Primary knowledge is everything that you can sense for yourself. It comes in your eyes, your balance, your ears, everything else. Now, yes, of course, our senses can be deceived. There are plenty of experiments, plenty of psychological experiments to show you that. But if every day that you've been born, the sky's blue and it's not been chemtrailed and covered over, if the sky's blue and everybody else says the sky's blue. Yeah, that's what our senses tell us. If you can't trust your senses on repeated experiences, then we're lost. We're senseless. Yeah, this is what common sense is. Yeah, secondary knowledge is what people have told you. Primary knowledge will be an experiment you've done for yourself. So if you've sailed and you've taken measurements and you've done this, that, and the other, that's first-hand knowledge. But an experiment that somebody else has done, that they tell you about, that's secondary knowledge unless you've repeated it for yourself. I think tertiary knowledge is better, because tertiary knowledge for me is the primary knowledge of other people. So hearsay, but it's hearsay times 1,000 or 10,000. We know that it's light here and it's dark. It's yet dark in America. Yeah, we know that because we can make phone calls, and that's what people, you know. It's a general. It's first-hand knowledge that can be spread about. We can trust it. We can certainly trust it better than secondary knowledge, but secondary knowledge can easily become primary or tertiary knowledge. So if you can if you can experience it with your own senses firsthand and do that repeatedly, it's more likely to be, you know, you can confirm it with your own senses. Just make the distinction between those two types of knowledge. Something can be perfectly logical, work mathematically beautifully, yeah, and not actually be related to the real world either. Yeah, all these distinctions matter. Like everything else, all the points I want to make, I want it to be a springboard for your own research. The idea is not for me to get up here, show you, a bunch of flat horizon, a bunch of other mathematical stuff, and go, to make the thing. So actually have a springboard for each part. Go and investigate for yourself. You don't have to trust me. I'm not the news. I'm not the BBC newsreader. I'm not going to stare in your eyes and hypnotise and say this is it, and don't believe anything else, and don't research that. And now here's EastEnders. Yeah. The idea is everybody in this room is interested in seeking truth. So certainly use it as a springboard for your own research. Like anything else, I'm sure I don't have to tell you that. It's only changes perspective. People get kind of crazy with this for many different reasons, but nothing actually changes. Things change spiritually in the way I suppose the way you act and everything else, but in terms of the world doesn't change because your senses are still seeing the same thing anyway. Yeah, your senses are still because the model in your head changes. And finally, yeah, like I say, it does lead to the bigger questions of where we are, where we're from, what's our origins, how did the universe come about, how did the earth come about, where am I from, what's my purpose? Because again, those are the biggest questions, and anybody that's curious and seeking truth certainly wants those answered. So that's why it's important. There is nobody who believes that the earth is a fixed stationary plane that believes so because of one or two pieces of evidence. They didn't watch one video and go, oh my God, the earth. It's a weight of evidence, it needs building up. Yeah? People have a confirmation bias. So that if you've come tonight, or if you're watching this, and this is just too ludicrous, and it doesn't matter what evidence you're going to show me, I don't care how many pieces of evidence you're going to show me, I know the earth is a ball, then we're just wasting our time. That's not and that's not scientific inquiry either. Let me present the evidence and let it build up. Yeah, take each piece of evidence on its own merit. Yeah, rather than it can't be right, the earth's a ball, it doesn't matter what I show you. It's actually reverse thinking, isn't it? When we're actually after truth. We need to keep an open mind. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I'm assuming everybody is aware that they're committing false flags and false histories and this war on terror. They're capable of achieving mass deceptions through mass programming, mass lies through the mainstream media, through the telly screen, as it's called in Orwell's 1984. Sure, everybody's aware of that. Everybody's aware of the attacks on our health from everywhere, from EMFs, from chemtrails, vaccinations, all over the place. They're lying about it all the time. Pharmaceuticals, doctors just hand out pharmaceuticals, and they might actually, be useful for the original ailment, but they just give you 10 more ailments, and they keep going on and on forever. Yeah, food, GMOs, all the different kinds of food, all poisonous to us. Yeah. I'm assuming everybody's aware that our whole money and banking system, owned by the Rothschilds, owned by the criminal central banking system. If you're not aware of how money in the central banking system works, the best video to watch on it is Bill Still's The Money Masters on YouTube from 1996. It's 3.5 hours. And if anybody that's ever wondered why the economy is the way it is, why things are the way they are, that will answer many, many questions. We're well aware that politics is not. Politics is just an illusion. There's no choice. Doesn't matter if it's left or right. The owners own both parties. They like the left and they like the right. It doesn't matter who you vote for. They're getting in. Presidents aren't elected. They're not elected. They're selected. So it doesn't matter, which Democrat or Republican can get in. The rulers are going to get their way anyway. They have a lot to do with symbolism as well. Again, this is conspiracy 101, along with probably the lunar landings and the New World Order. One of the first things you come across is. He's gone the other way now. The one thing you come across is the pyramid with the all-seeing eye. That is the all-seeing eye of Horus or Lucifer. Yeah, and it's on the back of the dollar bill. We're not making this up. This is not, anybody can go and check that out. These guys are into symbolism. They're into numerology, and they're into deceiving the whole world. People are aware that NASA the moon landings, Freemasonry, the Jesuits, media propaganda, mass programming, symbolism and numerology figure highly in these guys' operations. We see their hand all over false flags, all over buildings and masonry and what have you. Like I say, it's all over the flat earth as well. It's all over the globe earth. Deception. Yeah? This is the number one reason why we think, well, I thought for most of my life, and most people were, whatever they think now, why we believe that we lived on a spinning ball, because of this image or these types of images. But this image was shown to us for a very long time. It was taken supposedly on the way back, the last Apollo mission, on the way back from the moon. It's the Earth. Obviously it's a picture of the Earth, supposedly. But we've been shown these images all our lives. When you go to school, there's a globe sitting in the classroom. If you're on the computer and you want to show an icon for knowledge and learning, it's always a globe. Yeah, it's funny how that works. But this is mass propaganda. This is mass mind control and propaganda all the way through. This is secondary knowledge. Yeah, we're shown that and told that's the solar system. That's the way it works. You've got the big sun in the middle and all the planets revolve around it, but nobody's ever seen that. We've never seen a photograph of it. We've never seen, real part. We've certainly never seen any animation of it, even though there's supposedly a probe out in Pluto at the moment. Nobody's ever seen the solar system like this. It's always graphics. It's always secondary knowledge. This is primary knowledge. Although, we weren't up there in the balloon itself. You can go and watch many of these videos. Amateur weather balloon videos. These go up 20 to 25 miles, so actually 3 times as high as you go on your plane. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't see no curve to the Earth there. In all fairness, a lot of these things have GoPro cameras on them, so the horizon will flip all ways. It will be, as you'd expect, first the curve, then it goes completely flat, and then it'll go concave, and it wobbles out. And when it starts leveling off, funnily enough, the horizon starts leveling off as well. But it's impossible. You can make a straight line look curved with a GoPro lens with barrel lens distortion, but you cannot make a curved line look straight with a lens. You can in Photoshop, obviously, post-processing, but you can't make a curved line look straight. So how can we ever look straight? If you've been shown images like this when you go to your classroom all the time, we just assume the Earth's flat. It's all about programming. Now let me show. I'm just going to digress, because there's a few things that people say. Flat Earth. This is not the flat Earth. It's not big balls and the Earth is in the middle. The only difference is the Earth in the middle and everything else is spinning around it. That's not the flat Earth. This isn't the flat Earth either. This is actually a concave Earth. It's another alternative view at the moment. The idea is that it's still a ball, but we're on the inside of it. You can get the perspective there. Kind of shows it there a bit better. We're kind of living on the inside of it, with the unit, with all the stars and the moon and everything spinning inside. Unfortunately, that comes up with the same or the reverse problems as living on a globe. Because if you're looking into the distance, and obviously the world curves around you, you're going to see far further into the distance than you actually can. Yeah, it's going to curve up. This isn't the flat Earth either. It's probably a bit closer. Now here we have the main flat Earth map, as promoted by 95% of flat earthers, Eric Dubay, Samuel Rowbottom originally. Everybody shows this map. I have serious problems with it. I have serious problems with it for several reasons, which I'm going to go through quite quickly. But it's just as erroneous as the globe Earth, and this is the psyop. This is the shill, as far as I'm concerned, because the flat Earth movement's been really raging for just over a year and a half, what have you, and it's all this person's a shill, that person's a shill, etc., etc. Things break down and it gets annoying. I just did a quick experiment. This flat Earth map, this circular flat Earth map, comes from, if you get a squared Mercator, put it into Photoshop and give it the polar coordinates, and then resize it so it's square, you get exactly this map. You can make it yourself from the square map. That's all it is. Right. There's some serious problems with it on various levels. You can look into it yourself. I'm going to go through, like I say, about half a dozen of them. If you look at the size of Australia there, I can get my little. Does this work?
Got a laser pen?
Got one.
Oh, you got that.
Got one in the software. So there's Australia. If you look, it's about the same size as Russia. It's bigger than the whole of North America. North America's smaller than South America on here. That's not actually the case in real life. Right? Because map makers can make maps and sailors can go, sailors can sail and airplanes can take aerial photographs. Yeah. So we know that these landmass sizes, I mean, Australia's nearly as long as Africa there. Yeah. It's completely distorted, and it's distorted because all they've done is they've taken the square map and, like I say, put it through the polar coordinates. So it looks like that. But you see here, North America is far bigger than South America. And Australia is not really as big as Russia, is it? Yeah. The other huge problem with this map is they say Antarctica is the edge, it's around the outside. It's been 60,000 miles, it's being guarded by some Antarctic force. Well, we've never seen anybody, we've never had a whistleblower, and who wants that for a job? I mean, they might pay you £5,000 a week, but you're never going to see any action because nobody's ever going to go, for a start. And you can go all over the Antarctica. It's not as restricted as we're told. Quite obviously, if you're going down there, you want to take precautions. It's going to be very cold, so you go in a group and what have you. But it's not a restricted area. Yeah, I'm not trying to debunk the flat Earth here, by the way. The Earth is most definitely a fixed stationary plane, but this is not the model of it. And I think that the problem with it is, I'm going to take questions later. The problem with it is it puts people off, because if you say, okay, well the Earth's not a globe, and here's why, and I can show you, many reasons for it. So, well, what's the alternative? But this alternative doesn't work either for many reasons. Nobody's ever seen the edge. That's the number one. If there's an edge, nobody's ever seen it or photographed it or what have you. Yeah, we've seen, tall mountains, tall ice mountains, but we don't know. We don't know that's definitely the Antarctic edge. There's no force guarding it. Anybody can go there. The 24-hour daylight and night as well at both poles. You get 24-hour Arctic daylight, you get 24-hour Antarctic daylight. It's another lie from a lot of the flat Earth videos that they don't have 24-hour daylight in the Antarctic. And I've seen it on 5 or 6 completely different time lapses. Yeah. Plus it's reported in time and date. Plus it's reported all over the world. Yeah. That both ends, and again, that's not possible. Yeah. It's not got this kind of reach. There's 24-hour daylight at both poles, not at the same time, obviously, in the respective winters and summers. Equal day and night lengths at equidistant places north and south of the equator, and I'll give you some examples of that. Sure, I've got 2 examples for you. But in the 21st of June, north is equal to the 21st of December south. So again, if the sun is supposedly going around the Tropic of Cancer here, and then it goes wider, it goes down to the Tropic of Capricorn for the southern solstice, then it's got a lot further. Maybe I should have a laser pen, but it's got a lot further to cover. Quite clearly, it's got 2 or 3 times further to cover. But again, through tertiary knowledge, people don't say in Australia the sun goes 3 times faster across the sky. It still takes the same time. It still goes at the same speed. So there's another problem with it there. There's equatorial sundials. So the sundials that specifically only work on the equator. And again, on the equinoxes, the sun goes in a straight path over the equator. Yeah, so at least twice a year. Again, if the sun's constantly circling round, it's just going tighter and tighter around the north and then further out to the south, it's always circling. You'll never see it go straight across the sky. But again, that's not people's experiences at the equator itself. The stars go in different directions in different hemispheres. This is it's a big falling down point for the flat Earth. People say, hang on, the stars go in different directions, this model can't be true, therefore the Earth's not flat. This is my problem with this model. You can find so many holes in it, and then people go, well, that's not right, let's go back to the globe. But neither's true. Flight routes I'll come on to in a sec. I've got a slide on it. The Flat Earth Society, we know it's co-opted intelligence. It's counterintelligence, it's what do we call it, controlled opposition. Yeah, and the UN we know is New World Order. So why would they have the real flag? Why would they have the real map of the Earth as their flag? And why would the Flat Earth Society, be giving us the right shape of the map? Like I say, all you need to do is put a square map into Photoshop and do the polar coordinates filter. Yeah, you'll still get make it square, and you'll see exactly this map. And like I say, the reason why it's around is to put people off. Yeah, both alternatives. The old Hegelian dialectic. Yeah, but it can't be. It's not a globe because we're not spinning around. Here's the alternative. That's not right either, as far as I'm concerned. I will get on to what I think it may be. But my my hope by doing these talks and by spreading the word is that people, independent scientists and researchers, will go out and find it for themselves, set up their own balloons, do their own tests, observational tests, map makers, whatever. Yeah? If we know that the Earth is not a globe and we need to know what it is, all bets are off again. Science is open again. Yeah? Discovery is open again. We haven't discovered everything. That's a lie. We can start using our brains and our intelligence and our resources again. Beirut, 33 degrees north. Sydney, 33 degrees south. You can see they're virtually exact, equidistant from the equator. You can see the solstice day length there within a second of each other in terms of the length of daylight, north and south of the equator. Again, proving that the sun can't be going further and further. And again, Swansea, twinned with Rio Gallegos. Again, you can see within 15 seconds the amount of daylight is equidistant each side of the equator. And just one on the flights, Auckland to Buenos Aires, a flight 13 to 14 to 15 hours. I'm pretty sure somebody just took that actually and did a video of it and showed it. I mean, these flights exist. But again, if you're trying to, get from there on the flat Earth map, it takes, you're going right the way across the world. It's supposed to take 30 odd hours, but it only takes 14, 15. So this map does not work. And I wanted to get that out of the way before I show you. Oh, go back. Very quickly, because again, I think, proving that the moon landings were a hoax is Conspiracy 101. It was one of the first videos I ever saw, one of the first programs I ever saw. I will go through it very, very quickly. That's quite a famous scene from Kubrick's The Shining, as he pays homage to his participation in the moon landings. Quite simple and straightforward. You've got the sun behind you here. Here's the astronaut taking the picture. And you've got the shadow of his thing. So quite clearly, the sun is behind us. It's we're in the fourth wall. Yeah. So what is causing the shadow here? If the sun is behind us. Now, when they went to the moon, they didn't take any sources. They didn't take any lamps or lights or what have you. The sun is the only source. It has to come from one direction. It's behind us. And you can see it's behind us because the shadow of the astronaut's there. But over on this side, if the sun's behind us, what is causing that shadow? And if you think that's, well, hang on a minute, that's a one-off. Look at this rock here. Look at the shape. Look at the direction of the shadow there. Is that going in the same direction as these? There is more than one light source on this. You can look at hundreds and hundreds of photos for yourself. I'm only going to give you a couple of examples of each one, but you can examine all these for yourself. There's plenty of, obviously, articles and websites and what have you. There's a famous one from a video. Again, you can see shadow from the astronauts going that way, shadows on the rocks are going that way. Yeah, the source of the light is here. It's not 90 million miles away on the sun. The more you look at these, the more you realise that it's a film studio. Yeah, pristine equipment and all the shots. Yeah, this is the first shot taken by Neil Armstrong when he got off the lander. Yeah, but it's showing no. Everything's pristine again. It's touched down on the fine dusty surface of the moon, and it's pristine. There's no sign of. It looks like it's just been put there by stagehands to me. Again, we have the astronaut here. There's obviously behind him. The light source is behind him because we can see the shadow, but he's lit up full front. There's more than one light source here, quite clearly. You can examine any amount of moon photos you want and notice these things for yourself if you're into photography. It becomes very obvious very quickly. We can also see as well, if you look behind him, that's where the set ends. That's where the edge. That's the horizon where everything dips over. But you can see in his reflection. Yeah, you can see that there's another astronaut taking that picture, obviously taking the picture of him. You can see the reflection of him, but you can see the horizon line behind him as well. So how big is this moon? I know it's only supposed to be a quarter of the size of the Earth, but the Earth's a pretty big place. But you can see, so you've got from this back here, and then however far that way, it looks about 150 yards across. All you need to do is be sceptical and start looking for yourself at these things, and you go, hang on a minute. This is Kubrick's famous, invention for 2001: Space Odyssey. If you look here, there's a line going right across. This is where the set ends, and these are painted in. These are painted hills. You can tell the difference because how long would it take, do you think, to walk over to the edge there? Minute, 2 minutes. Compare that to one on Earth. Yeah, well, you can see that's real depth. That's a real mountain. That's a real landscape. Yeah, there's another real landscape, the Grand Canyon. These look like, you could run around it in 5 minutes. No problem at all. Well, I don't know what that blue light is. Again, this is an original NASA photo. There's a blue light. You couldn't see any stars on any of the shots of the moon. But there's a nice big blue flashing light there. They get everywhere. Fake. Straight line mount, fake. It's clearly fake. As soon as you take those glasses off, it's clearly fake. That's a real mountain. It's going to take a good few hours to get over there. That's not. Don't forget, when this was shown in 1969, this was how it was shown. We didn't all have iPhones and laptops and HD screens and stuff. This is how people saw it. We've landed on the moon. We were so much less cynical then for a start, but this is what we saw it on, and it probably looked great. And we saw the rocket going up, and we've all been told this. So don't forget how the world looked. And now it's a done deal. This is 50 years ago now, 40, when are we up to? 47 years? It's a long time ago. But it's a done deal. We don't, people don't generally go around questioning the moon. NASA would do up to stuff, we've got the ISS and they're doing Pluto and, they're doing all this stuff. But because they've already set in stone that they went to the moon. Yeah, we can already do that. We don't go back though, notice. 348,000, I think. No, 308,000. This moon rock was valued. That was given by Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong to the Dutch Prime Minister. Only it's petrified wood. They've done tests on it. Oh, we'll keep it as a curiosity. But yeah, we brought this rock from the moon. Not from the moon at all. The LEM. More pictures I look at this, the more it looks like, I don't know, a school science project. Gold foil and hanging wire, bits of curtain rod, and and don't forget that the bottom part is the engines where it all, where obviously it gets about, the boost and everything, and they actually live in the top part of it. I've got there's no toilet in there, by the way, nowhere to store the waste, and they did mention that was a problem. They got diarrhea and this, that, and the other. Oxygen to live on water. Where's the food? And can they recycle the CO2? Or so do they have technology that we don't know about now? Because apparently we've got a big problem with CO2, so they tell us.
They did have CO2 scrubbers.
They did. Yeah.
CO2 scrubbers.
There's a whole. On the next slide, there's a whole list of. Again, like I say, I want it to be a platform for further research. So we'll put it up. Have a look for yourself. You can do some calculations. It shows you exactly how much oxygen and water and CO2 and everything else that they have. But this is a replica. Obviously, they left the original lander on the moon. But this is a replica of the '69 moon. Now, the famous shot of Neil Armstrong coming down the ladder there with his backpack on and his big suit and all the rest of it. I just imagine him coming down. He was a lot bigger than the ladder. I imagine him trying to get in. How was he getting in there? You know what I mean? That's smaller than a micro, I reckon. And you've got your big backpack on. Nothing makes sense when you start looking into it and you start adding it up and start looking at the numbers. I'm not going to go into the details there, but this is where they live. This is the LEM. So they hung hammocks across when they weren't doing whatever, trying not to defecate on each other, I suppose, and eat and do all the, keep all the scientific experiments. And I'm not sure where the car was. We've got a car here as well. The car was slapped to the side. There's no photos of them assembling this car. This is what in 1969, by the way, they didn't take the car then. They took the car for, I think, 3 of the later missions. But it's all the same type of equipment. They've got a car there. There's no pictures of them actually putting it together. They only went at 8 miles an hour. Was there any point? Backyard science projects. The computing power that took us to the moon, allegedly, not even as good as an iPhone. You can go, if you've got an iPhone, you can probably go to the moon tomorrow if you like. You need one of these curtain rods and one of these lunar modules. 32 kilobytes of storage. So in that computer, it's got to remember all the trajectories and all the mad calculations that it must have had to do to get all the orbits right. Because if you read how the rocket, then they got in the command module, and the command module got into the lunar module, and the lunar module set down, and that's really complicated stuff. But they did it all on, well, best be a Fisher Price speak and spell, I think. It's quite impressive. There's another problem that they have just with time. Yeah, it shows you. There's a list here of obviously how long, how many excursions they did. and how long they were actually on the moon's surface. Now don't forget, obviously when they land they've got to check the equipment, they've got to do all these scientific experiments, collecting rocks, obviously, you know, take care of the, you know, the personal stuff. Yeah, at the same time, they took a hell of a lot of photos as well. Again, study it for yourself. 5,700 photos of 6 missions in 4,800 minutes. They need to be taking more than a photo a minute. Yeah, and don't forget these photos. The cameras, they didn't have viewfinders. We didn't have all our iPhones with our flashy digital cameras. They had I forgot the name of it. Hasselblad, thank you. But they had no viewfinders on them, and you had to get the exposure and the shutter rate absolutely right. And you do not see any with half of Neil Armstrong's head cut off. Or every shot is perfect. Every shot is perfectly framed. Yeah, they were not only amazing astronauts and everything else, but they were brilliant photographers as well, because they didn't have viewfinders, and they took thousands of amazing pictures really quickly as well, by the way, because they had to do all these experiments and build that car as well. Don't forget, they had to build the car. One thing you missed out, the people that believe we're on a spinning globe, and I've heard, is that we know we went to the moon, and we know the moon's far away and everything, because they bounced the laser, but they left a little mirror, so we can bounce the laser, and we know that the moon's moving further away or it's moving nearer. I can't remember. Every year it moves a couple of centimetres closer and all the rest of it. That for me is a big reason why, you know, why all this might be true. However, they already did it in 1962. Massachusetts Institute of Technology bounced the laser off the moon. It was then followed by the Russians also bounced the laser off the moon, the Crimean Astrophysical Observatory, using a Q-switched ruby laser. Yeah, this is in 1962 in the New York Times on the 10th of May 1962. An area about a mile in radius, I think it says, was lit up by the moon. Was lit upon the moon from the Earth. Kind of predates the lunar landing, so that's out the window as well. Yeah, we can see the reflection, and you know, we can shine a laser on the moon. That was already being done as well. We're moving to more familiar territory for people who you know about conspiracies. Like I say, it's all connected. I'm sure you're already starting to doubt the lunar landings are real, but everything's connected with it. We know about 9/11. Look at the symbology and the numerology and everything connected here. Why 30 years? Why not 25 years or 40 years or another number? Why specifically 30 years? Because they could do 9/11. Those are supposed to be L's. Why they look like ones? They don't do anything by half, and they're not even trying to hide it either, by the way. They're not trying to say, oh, it's a secret that the Freemasons were all involved with the lunar landings. No, they're very proud of it. They're very, very proud of it. You see here, you know, 33 degree the southern right. We put our men on the moon. Confirmed Freemasons: John Glenn, Edgar Mitchell, Buzz Aldrin, Gus Grissom, on and on and on and on. All Freemasons, all part of the occult, all part of the Brotherhood. Again, numerology and symbology. There were 7 missions to the moon. They do like the numbers. Only 6 made it. 1 was incomplete. Do we know what number it was? We love the number 13 if we're occult and Illuminati, although you get... it's all coincidence, you know. At the Bataclan, the Paris false flag, November the 13th, that's, like I say, a false flag doesn't mean that people didn't die, but it was a staged event. The band, the Eagles of Death Metal, also happened to play 6 songs, and they were halfway through the 7th when the incident happened. Yeah, exactly the same. I'll tell you something else about the moon. I don't want to get too involved in any particular thing. You only ever see the face of the moon rotate. So again, we talked about everything else, the other body is round. Well, you say that, but... Excuse me. I'll go back here. If you're in Britain, and the moon's here, so it can be seen in America as well, yeah, the moon's a big ball, you're going to see a different side of it, just as if the guys on the left-hand side or the guys on the right-hand side, on your side, you're going to see you're not going to see exactly the same face, just rotating. You can see round the ball here, can't you? Yeah. You can see a slightly different angle to these guys. Yeah, that never ever happens. Send it as far back as you like. Yeah, you're going to see a slightly different side to it. Yeah, you're going to see slightly more around it. Obviously they say it's a coincidence. The moon rotates on its own axis exactly the same time as exactly the same rate as it's orbiting around Earth, so we always see exactly the same face of it. But all that ever does, you see exactly that same face rotated. You don't see more around it, even 5 or 10 degrees around it, ever. All I'm saying, no, I'm sorry, but I mean, if you can produce evidence for me, then fair enough. All I'm saying, yeah, is that it rotates. Yeah, there is no evidence so far, yeah, that we can see more around it. I mean, they've shown us the dark side of the moon. I'll come to that in a second. But all you ever see of the moon, and if you can, you know, by all means get in touch, it rotates. It depends on where you are on the Earth. Yes, the moon has a different face, but it's not, all it's done, it's rotated on one plane. It never rotates around us. If you're looking at a ball and it was all the way away, if you're on that side, you're going to see just slightly different to that side. Doesn't matter how far. Well, I mean, it does obviously at some points, but the moon's fair. You know, it's a fair distance. It's a fair size in the sky. It's not a tiny dot like a star. We can see a fair bit of it. If you're thousands of miles that way and thousands of miles that way, and it's a ball, you're going to see a slightly different angle of it, aren't you? All it ever does is it rotates its face. So you're in Britain, you'll see it there. Move that way, you'll see it that way. In Australia, and you'll see it pretty much upside down. That's all we ever see. We never see it turning that way. And it is near enough to see. Numerology and symbology. All seeing eye. And the square compasses. Here we have Buzz Aldrin, the second man, supposedly that walked on the grey dust of Kubrick's film set. Showing off. They don't try and hide it. He's a Mason. There's his Masonic ring. He's got his Shriner hat there. These guys, yeah, they're supposedly praying to the command module. Looks like a pyramid to me. The connections between Ron L. Hubbard, or L. Ron Hubbard, who started the Scientology movement, Walt Disney, Werner von Braun, rocket scientist, Jack Parsons, also a rocket scientist, Jet Propulsion's laboratory, and Aleister Crowley, who's obviously, you know, an arch Satanist, influenced a lot of, you know, rock music and you know, everything else. Started the OTO, the Ordo Tempora Orientis. These guys are all connected. They're all in the same brotherhood. The connections between, well, here you go. Jack Parsons, the JPL was how obviously NASA got into, you know, got into the air in the first place, the Jet Propulsion's laboratory. Here's Jack Parsons at a Masonic ceremony. You can tell by the floor. And again, you can look into this for yourself. Yeah, it's easily searchable. It's easily researchable information. The connection between Walt Disney. Here we have aboard the ISS. Again, now we're getting into the handshakes. We've got Baphomet all doing it. Yeah, we've seen Bill Clinton do that, and Bush, and all these guys give you that. We know what that means. We know who they're in service to. This is all about occultism. It's all about sun worship, heliocentrism. It's not science. It's a religion. It's a faith. This is Helios. This is Helios, the sun god. And here he is on the badge of Apollo 13. This is all occult religion going all the way back through all Egypt and then back through to Babylon as well.
As is Apollo.
Apollo, yeah, obviously. Here's John Glenn, about to go into space for the first time. He's going to be safe, though, from those solar winds, those thousands of degrees, because he's got a motorcycle helmet and an iPod on. Completely safe from radiation. Looking very handsome there, fella. That, you know, honestly, I'd be like, yeah, no problem. I'll go up to space in some aluminium foil. It's it's cultural programming all the time. So you've got, when you go to school, you've got a globe. They'll show you NASA stuff and images and all the rest of it. Now we've got fashion designers getting them. This is, you know, Yves Saint Laurent and all the rest of it in Milan. And you can see, I mean, that's a wetsuit in the middle, obviously, but it's all the fashions as well. So we're thinking about space all the time. We've got Star Wars coming out. We've got NASA who are doing missions. So it's always coordinated. I'm sure if you go to the shops, there'll be, you know, bunches of magazines on the solar system, or build your own spaceship, or, you know what I mean? They always they push it. It's always coordinated. I want to see somebody, one of these astronauts, get in one of these shuttles, rockets, whatever they have nowadays, stick his camera out the window. We'll lend him our iPhone, give him £100 to stick his camera out the window, make sure it's charged up for a few hours, and take one long unedited shot from the ground, stick out the window so we can all see what it looks like to go into space. There is not one of those videos that exists, and I've done some searches. There were 135 space shuttle missions, and every single one, and even there was one recently, an ESA launch, wasn't there? I think it was the one that launched Tim Peake into space. The Britain, hey! So we'll get jingoistic about a Freemason. It cuts. You see it launch, and you might see it from the launch pad. The camera stays there, and it'll show it going up, and then you've got a camera on board, and it'll show it going up. But after a few minutes, when it reaches a certain level, it cuts. You either see a picture of the launch pad, goes back to the launch pad as if we want to watch that, or it cuts to a CGI graphic of what is what it's going to look like. Just show us it. They can't do it. They can't do it because it's not going into space. Now all these rockets, they always take off, and they always go up for a bit, and then they go on the back or sideways. Well, again, you've got billions of budgets. You're all scientists. You're all really clever. Hopefully, you're a lot cleverer than me. You've got all these mathematics degrees, calculus and everything else. Can you not? Because I believe rocket fuel is very expensive. So why doesn't it go straight up? Well, because there's such. Well, wait to put you on the right place on Earth at the right time, so that all you have to do is go straight up, straight out, because you're going out. Yeah, go straight up, straight out. They never, ever, ever do it. They always go on the back in the distance. How are we doing for time? Are we?
About another 5 minutes.
Okay.
Before break time.
Last year, it's to say, NASA turned on the. All of us, we don't hear from them for years, and then all of a sudden it's time to. We're doing this and we're doing that and we're doing this. Here, they've got a probe flying by Pluto, so they took a picture of Pluto. Maybe that's open to it. Everybody was always ready for it. It absolutely looks like Pluto. They're taking the mick. Somebody said, is this some kind of observational test? People that went to the gym say, is this an observational test? Because these are Atlas stones. These are these medicine balls that we have in the gym, and they've just filtered one up and told you it was a planet. And when you take it into Photoshop and change the levels and what have you, you can do this do it with your own pictures and see if the background's smooth. Yeah, I've done it, and the background is as you'd expect. It doesn't look like you've pasted something in, and it's graded. I mean, you can't really see it on the screen, but you'll see it. You see an HD version, but the background is graded. There's several shades of black in there. It's not just a probe taking a picture, as they tell us it is. This is. I mean, it looks like some kind of new domestic appliance of some kind, but it is actually the Kepler telescope. And it's how we believe there's lots of Earth-like planets out there. It's about the size of a house, and lots of gold foil again, obviously. And here's a picture of the Kepler telescope in space. Except it's not Kepler telescope in space, is it at all? Yeah, sorry, the thing is gone. But this is how they do it. You'll get a magazine, it'll have a picture like that, and you'll be reading all about the Kepler telescope and how it discovers planets and everything else. And you just assume that, oh yeah, there is a picture of it in space. You don't think they're not trying to pretend that it is, but it's programming and conditioning and mind control all the time. Yeah, suggestion all the time. Images in your head are keep repeated from school, from Hollywood, from NASA, from wherever. That's clearly the same picture as before, and they've just they've put it onto the dark rift in the sky and added something and give it a kind of a feeling that it's moving. But it's quite clearly not a picture of the satellite in space. There are no pictures of any satellites in space. There are only composite shots like this. Again, if you can find one, I'm happy to. But I've been looking for quite some time. A lot of people have been looking for quite some time. There are no real shots. They're all composite. Let's try and get this done before the break then. Kepler mission is to find other habitable planets. Presumably, they were screwing up this one. Don't worry about it. We'll find some other to go to. We'll all get off just in time, just before we destroy it. And all it does, really, it just looks for dips in light in distant stars. And from that, I mean, that's obviously mathematics going to give you a list of numbers. What they found so far, 4,696 potential exoplanets orbiting distant stars somewhere. You can see here, they go from anything between 1,000 days to 3 Earth years to go around, right down to a day. Now, don't forget, all this is a blip in light. Yeah, it's a star twinkling or a little, a little dip being taken out of it. But if it's got an orbit of 1,000 days and it's 3 years, and we obviously want to make sure it's regular, yeah, because that's how if it's not regular, it's not a planet orbiting, it's something else. So the Kepler telescope needs to then watch it for 3 years or 6 years to see 2 orbits, and just to make sure, watch it for 9 years. Do you know when the Kepler telescope was launched? 2009. So it's only had 7 years to find all these planets and make sure that there are definitely planets and it's not just a bit of dust on the lens or what have you. Yeah, but the point is that from all those numbers, and that's all they can do, yeah, they can obviously test the electromagnetic spectrum and the timing and all the rest of it. But from that, and again, they don't try and pretend, they don't say this is a real photograph, they say this is the artist's impression of what he's done from the numbers. Now, do you think there's actually any connection between all the listed numbers that they get, and this is how big it might be, and what the artist actually comes up with?
No.
How can there be? How can there be? Because it's not a photograph. But again, they imply, it's suggestion, it's programming, they imply that, look, there are other planets out there. But we have no real photographs of any of them. Yeah? Even ones you're familiar with, many people hopefully have got a telescope. Here's a nice picture of Saturn. That's how we think of Saturn. If you think of Saturn, you think of this. Yeah? A bit yellow, obviously, it's a black and white. Oh, it's quite yellow up there. Goldy with the rings. Except this is not a real photograph. You can tell it's a work of art, because up here you've got the actual name of the artist. One guy did the main planet, and the other guy did the moons and what have you as well. This is the best photograph I could find from a telescope from Earth of Saturn. So it is up there. There is something up there. There is a light in the sky. But that doesn't look like something you could actually land on. Unlike that. I mean, okay, it's supposed to be gas anyway, but you get the difference. That's first hand, that's primary knowledge. Yeah, that's what somebody's taken with their own telescope. This is secondary knowledge. It's our work, it's suggestion again. Same with Jupiter. Yeah, this is what we think of as Jupiter. That is a painting. This is the best amateur telescope I could find of Jupiter. So again, there is a planet in the sky or a wandering star, but we don't know what it is. We don't know that that's millions of miles across and millions and billions of miles away. Yeah, we can see it through the telescope. There is no further information on it yet. Most of what we see, this used to be Pluto until the latest ones. But all this is artwork. This is supposed to be Mercury. Obviously, you've got Jupiter again. But again, it's all suggestion. That's how it works. It's always suggestion and programming and giving you the impression. And it's a multi-level attack. I'll leave it there and we'll have a break. Thank you. How are we going so far? Who's been converted? Who no longer thinks the Earth is a spinning globe? Who's going to at least take some of what I've said so far and go and do some more further research? Because that's all I want. Yeah, I don't expect people to be convinced on one talk. I've obviously got another half to go through. The Hubble telescope, very, very famous. Takes lots of pictures of distant galaxies and stars and planets and everything else. If we see here, got that famous picture of the Earth again that I showed you right at the start, the 1972 Apollo picture. These are all composite pictures showing that, oh look, the Hubble's going to be in space over the curvy Earth. You're being programmed again. The Hubble telescope, it has a main mirror, but right in the middle of that mirror there's a little hole. It bounces back, to a secondary mirror, and then the secondary mirror bounces back into the little hole in the first mirror. Okay, this is what it says. And in that little hole is a bunch of really specialised technological equipment, cameras, etc., that are going to give you all the pictures of the galaxies. I really like this picture of the Hubble, actually, because again, well, for this one anyway, it's completely flat, plain, Earth in the distance. The Hubble telescope, all its equipment, it's got a wide field camera which sees 3 different kinds of light: near ultraviolet, visible and near infrared. They're not simultaneously. The resolution and field of view are much greater than that of Hubble's other instruments. It's one of the newest instruments. It's used to study dark energy and dark matter, the formation of individual stars and the discovery of extremely remote galaxies previously beyond Hubble's vision. Then we've got the Cosmic Origins spectrograph, the COS. It sees exclusively in ultraviolet light. So we've got near ultraviolet, visible, near infrared, and actually ultraviolet light covered now. They act something like prisms. They separate the light. This provides a wavelength fingerprint of the object being observed. It tells us about its temperature, chemical composition, density, and motion. It's basically there to improve its ultraviolet sensitivity. The advanced camera for surveys sees visible light. In other words, it's a camera. It's designed to study some of the earliest activity in the universe, but it's a camera. ACS helps map the distribution of dark matter, detects the most distant objects in the universe, searches for massive planets, and studies the evolution of clusters of galaxies. But it's a camera. It's a camera lens. ACS partially stopped working, and then it had to be, repaired. It's also got a space telescope imaging spectrograph on board. It sees ultraviolet, visible and near infrared, so it kind of does the same things as the other ones, I think. But it's known for its ability to hunt black holes. It works best with small sources of light, such as stars or quasars, but can map out large objects. They just talk. It's just gobbledygook. It's just scientific waffle. You'd never read this. You go, oh right, yeah, the Hubble's got lots of really special cameras on it. Wonderful, yeah. Let's have a look at the pictures. You're not going to actually look at it. But when you look at it, you realise it's just mind control and programming, because they're not actually saying anything. The Near Infrared Camera Multi-Object Spectrometer, NICMROS, it's a heat sensor, so it's going to cover the infrared range. Yeah. So there's nothing actually special here. It's just covering infrared, visible, and ultraviolet light. But they can see distant galaxies, distant stars, dark matter, the formations of the universe, you name it. From all that, yeah, we get pictures like this. Yeah. Again, he's just going to send numbers back to somebody, and somebody's going to get a bunch of numbers, and they're going to say, when they get told to make an artist's impression of such and such a galaxy, it's 3.5 light years away. It's so much across. It's probably, purple a bit. It's got whatever. Yeah. So the point is that these are not photographs. Yeah. No light has directly hit film or the electronic equivalent, and caused images to be impressed. These are all computer generated pictures. Question is, if the moon landings are faked, as can be clearly proved, why are they faking the moon landings? Why are they doing it? A lot of people say, well, yeah, we know they fake the moon landings. They go this far with the conspiracy, if you like. We know they fake the moon landings, but that's so because they're in a race with Russia, or because it's to encourage people to get into science. Well, that actually did happen. That certainly did encourage lots of young people to get involved, and there's nothing wrong with that. But really, are the rulers ever kind? Do they ever do things for our benefit? These people that are in charge, that have the billions, that run the departments, that own the corporations, own the textbook company, all the publishing houses, they own everything. Are they ever kind to us? No, they don't do anything out of the goodness of their hearts. These people are evil. We already know this. So what's the real purpose of all these, all the space race and the moon landings? I believe it's to show you lots of pictures of a globe Earth. But if we didn't go on the missions, then where are those pictures from? Famous picture of Earthrise from the moon. It says here, which one was it? Didn't say which Apollo it was, no. They did quite a lot of these shots anyway. But we see the moon in the sky, and the Earth is 4 times bigger than the moon. So if you're on the moon, you should see the Earth in the sky 4 times bigger than the moon appears on Earth. Yeah. If you saw Jupiter where the moon was, it'd look a lot bigger. You can actually test it for yourself. So it's an experiment you can do with obviously arc degrees of movement, but that should be 4 times bigger. all those shots, the Earth should look a lot bigger. So how can we trust any of these images? Yeah, that's supposedly the Earth and the Moon. You know, when you start breaking it down, these are all quite clearly CGIs. What started off, really accelerated my research into this, is the fact that no real video of the real Earth spinning in space, which we'd all like to see, actually exists. There are lots of CGI animations. I'm going to show you one shortly. There should be a whole TV channel. We have geosynchronous satellites, and we have satellites that orbit with the Earth, and we have satellites that stay still. And those ones that stay still could have a camera on them, and we could see nice pictures of the Earth turning in space. But not one exists. If you can find me one, I will give you £10,000. That's how confident I am, because I've looked and I've challenged lots of other people to look as well, and we've all been challenged to learn. If somebody come up with them, this presentation would not be happening, because I like logic, and I like sense, and I like common sense, and I like proof, and I like weighted evidence like everybody else. There is no existing video. What you're shown a lot, and I'm sure you could show me, videos of the Earth moving in space. But this is what you're shown. This is last year from the Discover satellite, the Epic camera. This is actually the dark side of the Moon. Going past the Earth. There's the Earth spinning. And there's the dark side of the Moon. The only problem with that is the Moon's supposed to be orbiting the Earth, not just flying straight past it. Your eyes aren't fooled. Yeah, you've got your own senses. Trust your senses. This is clearly CGI. But you go to NASA's website and they will claim this was taken from 1 million miles away from Earth by the Discover satellite. You will notice also that the clouds don't really move. I mean, they move across, but they don't change, don't swirl, they don't change direction. 5 hours, 3:50 to 8:45 is nearly 5 hours of time-lapse photography. Those clouds do not move at all. Now, there are some more recent ones, and they're making the clouds move now. They've animated all the clouds, but it still, it still doesn't look. They've animated the clouds, whoopie-doo. It still doesn't look real. A lot of the shots from Earth, it doesn't look like there's any life on Earth either. There's no cities. There's no. I mean, I know we're supposed to be far away, but it's from the same Discover satellite. Very famous, picture last year of the Earth. This is the newest. Not a composite, it's a real shot of Earth from the Discover satellite. The latest one says 1972, so it's about time they updated it. The only problem with this is, when you look at it, you flip it horizontally and vertically, just to the west of California, you can see it already. There's a word there, and it says sex. And you think, well, is it sex? Is it SFX? Is it coincidence, that, or what? Hey? Is that coincidence? Well, here's how I know it's not coincidence. Because if you watch The Lion King, you get the same thing, and it's not just... It's exactly the same way of writing it as well. It's the same animator who's done it. They are messing with your mind.
Is that his signature?
Probably, because here's more of Walt Disney. This is kids. Your kids are being programmed by Walt Disney, who is a part of the occult brotherhood, same as, Aleister Crowley, also Crowleyist. But you look at this stuff yourself. Vile filth. The kids are being programmed with, and you don't even notice. And it's the same thing with images from Earth. Again, it's not coincidence. None of these are coincidental. I've shown that Earth. Now the Earth's got even smaller. I was saying before it should be 4 times bigger. Now in the latest Japan one from 2014, the Earth's gone tiny again. It's gone even further away. It's like half the size of that one. The moon surface, obviously fair enough, it's a different size, but again we've got a nice curvy moon there as well. I mean, anybody thinks that's real, in this day and age. So I was saying before, once you put all the shots together, and there's obviously far more shots of Earth than this, you start saying, hang on a minute, all the colours of the sea are the same. They're the same in the equator as they are in the Arctic. But I don't know about you, but if I go to the sea at Blackpool, it's a very different colour to if you go to the sea in Australia or the Bahamas or wherever. The sea is a different colour. It's got different, it's true of all the world, it's true of all the land as well. But if you start inspecting and putting them side by side, all these shots of Earth, you realise that none of them are actually true. Every single shot of Earth you've seen all your life is a CGI. And you can tell, look at America here, look at the size of America. It's taking up virtually the planet. 2012. These are all official NASA satellites. These are all, you can find them all on official NASA sites. The size of America, it's grown. Yeah, it's twice the size as it is here.
It's all the fast food we eat.
It's getting bigger and bigger. They're taking over the planet, man. But look at the difference in colours in the oceans, but they're uniform all over the world. Yeah, and here we've got we've got snow covering half the world here. The big freeze in 1975. Everybody remember that? Couldn't walk. Everything was white. I haven't got any. So when you see half shots, or when you see those composites and those CGIs and those animations of the Earth and the shadow of the shadow of the Earth turning and what have you, again, it's the opposite. It goes completely black. Well, I'm sorry, but my experience of nighttime, there's street lights and there's especially cities, and you can see, you know what I mean, and there's moonlight and there's all the rest of it. It doesn't go completely black, but that's exactly as it looks like to us. So not to us on these NASA images that they're showing us. Operation Paperclip in 1944, very famous. A lot of Nazis lots of rocket scientists who worked on the V2, etc., etc. They were acquired by the United States government. Half of them went to work for NASA. The other half went to Hollywood to help the programming of our minds. I was a huge Star Wars fan. Very, very disappointed to find out that I'm just being programmed. Again, it's a multi-pronged approach to show you they're not trying to pretend that Star Wars is real in any way, but again, it's impressing your brain again and again and again that the space and planets and spaceships and they're all around and everything else. Okay, it's Hollywood. Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Close Encounters, all of this sci-fi stuff. I loved it all as well. Big fan. Kubrick. We've got E.T. So now we've got the ISS. And I look for some, again, best real photographs I could find of the ISS. Does this look solid? Does this look like a solid machine to you? Well, we'll go back to what we already know about 9/11. I think, I think there's more than 50% of people now on the Earth know that there's something dodgy about 9/11. Because it's our modern day JFK. But you've seen the plane, a hologram. Why isn't that a hologram? How do you know that's not a hologram? That's a hologram. Yeah, because aluminium cannot cut into steel. It's not possible. So these are the shots we see from the ISS all the time. But how do we know these are real? We don't.
You don't normally see that from the ISS. You don't normally see the street lights.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's all kinds of, like I say, I've seen some recently. You've got the clouds moving. You've got all kinds of, great graphics and all the rest of it. You never see the whole Earth. Again, it's not supposed to be that high. But I tell you what you don't see from the ISS, which you really should, and you never do, is one of the 17,000 satellites that are also supposed to be spinning around up there as well. I mean, I'm quite surprised that we don't see, every so often, explosions in the night sky as two of these satellites hit each other. I mean, look how many there are. And like I said, there's some far out and there's some quite close, but you never see them on the ISS. You've never seen them on the way to the moon. You've never seen them as these shuttles go into orbit. They're all supposed to be there, but again, I mean, obviously that's a graphic. They're not trying to pretend it's real. There's no evidence for curvature when you use your own senses and your own observations. Yeah, we can see quite clearly the horizon's flat everywhere, but that's x-axis curve or straightness. Yeah, and people say, well, look, even if we're on a big flat disk, you'd still see the horizon being straight all the way around, depending on how big the disk is. I'm more interested in the next few minutes, a few slides, in the z-axis curve. In other words, the ship's disappearing over the horizon. Yeah, as you go far out, we're supposed to be on a big ball, and wherever you are, you're supposed to be on the top of the ball. Yeah, I know it's a big ball, but obviously as things go further out, they're obviously going to dip behind the curve, so we can't see them. That's our general explanation for why ships disappear and things disappear over the horizon. Does anybody know who hasn't studied it? Because I certainly didn't know when I was a globe believer what the equation for the curvature of the Earth should be. Does anybody even know the radius of the Earth or the diameter? That isn't a flat Earth researcher, as I didn't know. But it should be common knowledge, shouldn't it? Shouldn't engineers, sailors, pilots, astronauts, all of these professions, architects, they should all know how much the Earth curves. Because if they're building a rail line over 30 or 100 miles or 200, however long it is, or a canal or all these kind of things, they should know. It should be a common knowledge thing like E equals MC squared. We don't use it every day, but everyone knows E equals MC squared. The Earth curves, it should be common knowledge. This is how you know the Earth curves for sure, because this is the radius, and this is how quickly things should disappear. And because they do, and you can never ever see them, that's how we know the Earth is a globe. That would do for me. But again, the evidence is in exact opposition to that. The radius of the Earth is 3,959 miles, allegedly. That's the figure that's given us. Using professional AutoCAD program and Pythagorean trigonometry, it actually comes out to 7.992 inches per mile of distance squared. We'll round it up to 8 inches per mile of distance squared. If you go on Google and find out what's the curvature of the Earth, it'll say 8 inches per mile. I think you have to go to the second or third page to say it's 8 inches per mile of distance squared. The reason there's a problem with that is quite straightforward, really. If you go 3,959 miles out, so the full radius of the Earth, the drop should be 3,959 miles, although they say it's slightly oblique, but it should be there or thereabouts. If you times 3,959 by 8 inches, and then divided by 12 for feet, and then divided by 5,280 for miles, you come up with 1.25 miles. It's a slope. If you go 8 inches, for every mile, it's exactly 8 inches, that's just a slope. You need to square the distance to make it parabolic. Because on a circle or a curve, the further you go, the more you're going to dip. Yeah? It won't work otherwise. You have to square the distance. And that's how it works out too. So, think about it, over a mile, there's only 8 inches of dip. You're not going to see anything. That's perfectly reasonable. Same for the second mile. It's going to dip a bit more because it's 2 times 2, 4 times 8 is 32 inches. You get to the third mile, there's a drop of 6 feet. But again, you see 3 miles out, 6 feet drop, reasonable. It's not when you're getting up here. When you start getting to 30 miles away, which is easily visible, you're looking at drops of 600 feet now. Yeah, so anything under 600 feet high, yes, we have refraction. Obviously, it depends on your observation point and everything else. But all things being equal, if you're 30 miles away, nothing under 600 feet should be seen. 60 miles, you're starting to get into nearly half a mile of dip now, 2,400 feet. Yeah, you're looking 60 miles out, and you can see 60 miles out with the naked eye. Obviously, we're getting into telescope territory here, but 100 miles, very interesting number, 666. 6 feet, that's over a mile. So 1.25 miles. If you're looking 100 miles, you've got a telescope, you can see 100 miles, there should be 1.25 miles dip. Yeah? If you're on a globe, and you're in the middle of the globe, basically all around you, from how far out, there should be a dip all around you. You'll look like a big sloping frisbee away from you. You all with me on that? Yeah? Those are the numbers. Further out you go, the more it's going to dip. It's not going to be uniform or linear. Now, people arguing for the globe will use the same argument in both directions. So they'll say, it's a globe because we see ships disappear over the horizon. But when we say, we can see objects that are far shorter than they're supposed to be, and we can see them from quite a way away, that's because of light refraction. Light refraction is bending it round. So it's an argument that's used in both directions just purely because I believe it's a globe and I don't want to take actually any observable evidence as the primary. Take the evidence first and then work out the model from it, because that's what we're doing here. That's what you're doing if you're saying it's a globe anyway. The Statue of Liberty stands 326 feet tall. It can be seen from 60 miles away. Obviously, the fall is 2,400 feet. It's 326 feet high. You can see it. If you're in a ship 60 miles away, you can see the Statue of Liberty. It's only 326 feet high, but it should be behind 2,000 feet of curve. Cross Lake Michigan, from St. Joseph to Chicago, is 60 miles. Over 60 miles, anything under 2,400 feet should not be seen. This is a visual of how that works. You see the blue, obviously the green line is you're straight out. If you were looking straight out, obviously the Earth's supposed to curve, so the blue line is where it curves. Anything beyond the blue line should not be seen. Sears Tower is only 450 feet high. It's the highest, obviously, building in Chicago. It's giving you the heights of some of the rest of the buildings there. There's quite a famous picture, a guy called Joshua Nowicki, of Chicago from 60 miles away. We shouldn't be able to see any of it. It should be all behind 2,400 feet of curve. Yeah. Now people say, but you can't see the bottom of the, it's proven that the Earth's curved because you can't see the bottom of it. But you can't see the bottom of it because seas and lakes, they wave. They go up and down. They're not completely. Obviously, if it's completely flat and completely clear, then you'll see a lot more of it. But this actually proves that the picture wasn't taken from very high above sea level. If it was, you'd see a lot more of the buildings, like in this next one. From slightly closer, from only 37 miles away, and should be behind 900 feet of curve, I think we can see more than 500 feet of the Sears Tower there. But you can see virtually all of the skyline, because obviously it's a clearer day, it's a little bit brighter, and obviously the waves aren't as choppy. Here's the opposite. There's 36 miles of waves in between. Why would we see the whole thing? But we can still see far more of it. It should be 840 feet a drop. You shouldn't be able to see. You should be able to see less than the top half of those. We move on to a different city, Toronto, across Lake Ontario, a place called Grimsby. Obviously not in Lincolnshire. 37 miles away. It should be behind 900 feet of curve. The CN Tower is 1,800 feet tall. You should be able to see only the top half of that and hardly any of the rest of Toronto. Can we see pretty much the whole skyline there? Again, you can check this out for yourself. You can get half a dozen of these pictures from various places all around this bay. Yeah, this is actually taken from the red lines there. It's actually Grimsby's here, so it's actually a little bit further than this red line. But you can get pictures from Toronto from all over this beach. Yeah, and you can see way more of it than we should be. Now, people say, "Oh, well, that's light refracting, bending it round the curve." It doesn't look like a mirage. I've seen mirages. They're inverted or they're wavy. We know what a mirage looks like. We can see it in the distance.
Shouldn't you be squaring the 8 rather than the 37?
Why?
That's what your formula said earlier.
No, it's 8 inches.
Squared.
No, per mile of distance squared. Yeah, you need to square the distance. Yeah, because obviously the further you're going out, the more it's going to drop. 81 miles away from Genoa, that's the Isle of Gorgona. It's only 70 feet above sea level. I'm not entirely sure how high we are, but again, you can check. I've done it with these. We shouldn't be able to see anyone, or we should be able to see the tip of it. We can see most of the island. It should be behind 4,300 feet of curve. It should have curved away by now. We can still see it. We'll bring it closer back home. The Isle of Man, from the Fylde coast, 61 miles away. And obviously we've got the Walney wind turbines. And again, we can't just see the tops of the turbines, we can see virtually all of them. From 61 miles away, Snaefell is 2,030 feet high, 2,034 feet high, so that's the highest point on the Isle of Man. 61 miles away should be 2,480 feet of curvature. Should be, half a mile below the horizon. From Cleveland's...
I've seen this only in certain weather.
Absolutely, 100%.
You can see snow from Liverpool, but you've got to have a very, very still day.
Yes, I agree 100%. And it's the same, look, we can see it from London. 75 miles away. Starts getting interesting when you start getting towards the 100-mile mark. We're talking over a mile of dip now. This is the Isle of Oahu, taken from Kauai. Thank you. In Hawaii. It's 90 miles away. Again, you can see, apart from, whatever bit the waves are hiding, we can see a lot of that island. And here's the numbers for it. It should be behind 5,400 feet a drop. Its elevation is 4,003 feet. So we shouldn't even be able to see the tip of it. You can see nearly all of it. We can see the Isle of Man from Bolton. Okay, it's up Winter Hill where you've got the big transmitter. Yeah, I'm going to take questions at the end. But you can see Blackpool Tower quite clearly there. Then you can see the wind turbines, and again we can see all the wind turbines, and we can see the Isle of Man behind it, and again it's the whole of the island.
Excuse me, are these measurements and photographs taken at different times of the year, at different angles?
Yeah, but I mean, well...
Is it the same photograph at one particular time of the year, in a particular month, from a particular angle?
Not that I know of, and none of these people were trying to prove, and I certainly wasn't, none of these people are trying to prove that the Earth was that the Earth is a flat or globe or anything else. They're just taking photos, nice photos of places in the distance. That's all. Yeah. Nobody was no. Yeah. I've taken these to get real. It's tertiary knowledge. Yeah. But these people do not have an agenda. They weren't trying to prove that the Earth was flat or a globe. Yeah. All I'm saying is that we can see things far further in the distance. This is the Sierra Nevada range from Mount Diablo in California near San Francisco. It's 160 miles away. Yes, we're up a mountain. Yes, they're up a mountain. But you can see, again, a lot of the bottom of the mountains. You can see the snow-capped tops, and then we can see the rest of the mountains as well. 160 miles away, this should be behind 17,000 feet of curve. Again, yes, you might be able to see the top of it, but not all of the mountains. And here's the furthest one I've found so far. This is my record so far. I'm sure it'll keep on growing. This is the Reunion Island from the Isle of Mauritius. It's 149 miles away. It's a long, long, long way away. And once again, we can see the peak, but we can also see most of the rest down. This is quite clearly a very, very good observational day. Very clear, very calm. The highest peak on Reunion Island is 3,072 metres tall. It's just under 2 miles. 149 miles away, everything should be behind 2.8 miles of curvature. Should have curved way, way away. And again, it's not just the tops we can see much more. We can see a lot more, 2,000 feet or so of that. We can see far more. That's what I'm saying about the Z-axis curve. It's not there. It's not there. If you watch a boat out to sea and then get a telescope on it, it will come back into view again. Yeah, it's perspective, and it's obviously the limits of our eyesight, but it's also conditions as well, quite clearly. Yeah, heat, haze conditions, what have you. Visible conditions do check. But the point is that photographs have been taken. I've just shown you a dozen photographs from starting at 30 miles, 60 miles, 90 miles. Now we can see 150 miles in the distance, and it should well have disappeared behind the curve of the globe. Taken from a V2 rocket, this is the first satellite. This is the first image of from very high up, 65 miles. It's flat horizon, back to x-axis here. But somebody's kindly done you can see, I don't know if you can make it out on here. Yeah, you can just about. There's a purple line which shows you where the curve should be if it was curving. 65 miles up, there's 720 miles of horizon. This is where the curve should be if it was there. It's flat, it's straight. We've mentioned Felix Baumgartner's famous jump in 2012, the Red Bull jump from the edge of space. It was a massive event. And I feel conned, because I was there, it was great, looking for, I feel conned, because it was just programming, it was just to get us to believe, it's reinforcement all the time on this ball, because this is a genuine shot from the video. Go through the video yourself, you can see the still. There it is, flat horizon. We know what it looks like when it comes out. It goes all bendy and curvy, but it's the same height, 128,000 feet. And again, this is a separate jump, this one on the right. It was about 80,000 feet. There was a test or what have you, but again, flat horizon. Have you ever seen big bodies of water, lakes, seas, oceans, rivers, bend into the shape of a ball? You might be able to get little raindrops, but as soon as if you go to a swimming pool, it's nice when you see a nice big swimming pool and it's all flat and solid, and it's a calm surface. It's flat. That's what water does. But if you believe that we're on a ball, then water must somehow curve into the shape of a ball. The Pacific Ocean, here we go, takes up a third of the Earth. So somewhere there must be a big body of water that curves. Have you ever seen it with your own eyes? Any first-hand primary evidence of ever seeing a lake or a sea or an ocean doing that, whether you've flown over it or you see it over it? That's what we see water do. It waves and it ripples, but it's flat. It's just big flat. If you have a small tray of water, it will find a flat. If you have a swimming pool, it will find a flat. If you have a lake, it will find flat. It's flat all over the place. But if you believe a ball, at some point it must curve. But that's not what we experience with our own eyes through our own observations. Flat everywhere. The Suez Canal is 120 miles long. It has no locks. If it wasn't flat, the water would drain out the other end. 120 miles, you work it out for yourself. 120 times 120 times 8 inches, divided by 12 for feet. There should be a lot of curve there. There isn't. Rivers, the longest rivers in the world, the Nile and the Amazon, are over 4,000 miles long, and they have about 5,000 metres drop from source to, obviously, out in the sea. That's 5,000 metres, what's that, a couple of miles? but it's 4,000. It virtually goes the whole. Well, it's over the whole radius of the Earth. But don't forget, they come from the mountains as well, and those mountains are probably 5,000 meters higher anyway. Yeah. So what's the actual elevation of the longest rivers in the world? The flat. But again, if we're on a ball, where's the Nile? Where's Africa? Yeah, the Nile should go. It should curve round, should have massive differences in elevation from source to mouth. But it doesn't. None of the rivers do. In Russia, there is a 395-mile long lake which freezes over every winter. That should have 19.7 miles of curve to it. Doesn't happen. No frozen lake. If you've ever seen a frozen lake, again, you shouldn't be able to see after a few miles. It should dip away, you know. So really, I mean, you might still think we're on a globe, we're on a ball, but there should be all these flat patches all over it, all over the place. Yeah? But we see it perfectly round in every single image. From a plane window, the horizon is flat. There's 36, 34, 34, 35, 30 odd pictures of a flat horizon. The horizon never falls below eye level either. So whether you're in, you know, on the ISS, or whether the image is from a V2 rocket, or from a plane, or from a mountain, or from wherever, the horizon always stays at eye level. It always rises to meet us. If we're on a ball, and you can do this yourself after, or get a ball or what have you, if you put yourself right down on the ball and watch the horizon, as you rise, you can see quite clearly the horizon line should drop down very, very quickly. It never does. Huge flat places on Earth, everybody's aware. If you ever watch Top Gear, the Bonneville Salt Flats, where everybody goes racing, but there's even bigger ones in South America. Ethiopia? But the Saladillo in Bolivia, they're going for 4,000 square. They go for hundreds of thousands of square miles. Big flat places on Earth, yeah, famously flatter than a pancake. The evidence is all around us. This is a really, really good video to watch. It's called "The Amazing Flight of a Balloon to the Edge of Space." And if you watch it, you will see, because those are clouds there. This isn't the ocean. This is clouds. And what have we got here? That's a hot spot from the sun. Now, if the sun's 93 million miles away, yeah, but massive, how is it causing a heat spot on here? Obviously, this is a still from it. You can watch the video for yourself, but this is what it does. There's minutes and minutes of this video as it spins around. You can see it again and again. It will blow your mind, because you'll see the sun isn't that far away at all, because it can't be causing a heat spot on the clouds if it's 93 million miles away. If it's massive, it should all be coming in at the same angle. There should be no target for it. That is obviously a spotlight. It's obviously got spotlight properties to it. Have a look at the video for yourself. Primary knowledge or secondary knowledge? You're going to use your own senses, your own observances, your own experiments, hopefully, or you're going to believe what you've been told just because that's what everybody believes. I've seen the sun look massive on the horizon because of the effects, the effects of the atmosphere. But I've also seen it look like this as well. Again, if the sun's 93 million miles away, how come it's so small there and it's, you know, 2 or 3 times as big here? Not obviously these bright ones, but these two. This is the time-lapse photography. Again, you can have a look for yourself. Take time-lapses yourself. Sometimes the sun gets bigger. Sometimes it goes, you know, really red on the horizon. Sometimes but it changes size. But again, if it's 93 million miles away, it should be consistent size in the sky all the time. It looks like it's passing by and going away. It's coming near and going away. It's just another example of it. Tiny on the horizon there. It's 4 times bigger now. Now we get to coincidences and numerology and all the rest of it. The Earth tilts at 23.4 degrees. That leaves exactly 66.6 degrees to the vertical. Again, they don't do things where coincidence. I've mentioned the moon rotation at the same time. Solar eclipses, the sun and the moon, the sun's 400 times bigger and exactly 400 times further away. That's what we're told. Could just be the same size and about the same place, and the moon's passing in front of the sun. Yeah, that to me is Occam's razor. That's the simplest explanation. You know why? Because we see the sun and the moon in the sky at exactly the same size. So they can tell us all kinds of other explanations, but they can't prove it. It's funny how the Earth is in the Goldilocks zone. It's in the perfect place for temperature, for life, for water. It's got all these right elements to it. Everything's perfect about it, but somehow it's not that special. We've got to spend billions and go and look for loads of other planets to live on. But it's perfect. It's just the right pressure, just the right temperature, just the right atmosphere. Perfect for it. But it's not that important. We'll finish off, because we'll come to the end of it now, but I'll finish off with the occult connections of the science gods that we've all been taught to bow down to. Galileo, Newton, Einstein, Copernicus, all these greats. Yeah. And it turns out most of them are occultists and religionists and alchemists. Einstein was famously a patent clerk. He didn't have any qualifications. He was a dunce at school, and the reason for that was he wasn't very clever. His Jesuit handler, George Lemaitre, he is a Catholic priest. He invented the Big Bang. But he didn't invent the Big Bang, because it was invented by the Kabbalists I'm going to show you next. But certainly it had a huge hand in what we see as modern cosmology. Kabbalism, if you're aware of that, they again are proud of, in the 13th century, in the book of the Zohar, coming up with the evolution, the Big Bang, and heliocentrism. Well, heliocentrism is more Hermeticism. It's more Copernicus. The connections between I'll tell you what we do is we go, yeah, politicians are terrible, bankers are terrible, figures in history are terrible.